Our first review of the day is going to be the film Kung Fu Panda 4. Obviously, the fourth film in the Kung Fu Panda franchise. As I said previously, we reviewed all three of the previous Kung Fu Panda films. I had just seen the first Kung Fu Panda film. I had never seen two or three up until recently. So it's going to be, yeah, so it's interesting for me to watch those very recently coming into this one. Now I have, good full knowledge of the Kung Fu Panda universe. So what's happening in this fourth one? Well, kind of following up a little bit what happened at the end of the third one, where Kung Fu Panda Po kind of takes up the place of Master Oogway, kind of as the new spiritual leader of the valley. Trying to be more of a leader, and now instead of just a member of the Furious Five, and just a martial arts master, they're trying to basically go ascend to the next level. And part of his mission of ascending to the next level is finding the next dragon warrior, much like what happened with him in the very first movie. And while he's trying to find a mission on finding the next dragon warrior, he gets wrapped up in a bit of fighting a new villain. They always have a main antagonist in a lot of these films. Here, it's played by Viola Davis, who plays the chameleon in this, who can transform into various other different villains, especially villains from his past, his other nemesis. Nemesis, as he says, however you kind of say it there. Other kind of master villains of his past coming back there. And teaming up with him in this adventure is a character voiced by Aquafina called Jin. So a thief, kind of Sly Cooper-esque type of character, a fox she is there, who she kind of teams up with him in effort to help fight the chameleon. So that's kind of the setup here that you have of this Kung Fu Panda 4 film. I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, all that stuff there. So, Dusk, what are your thoughts on Kung Fu Panda 4?
I thought this was okay.
Okay.
It compared to the other Kung Fu Pandas, the first two are the best. Second one argued by some to even be better than the first in some ways. The third one was an okay, very different movie from the other two. It worked for some, but I found it to be a bit weak, quite a bit weak for various reasons. That just didn't quite fill it. And this one, it kind of failed in the same way that the third one didn't quite grab me as well. This one felt very light and a lot of theming and style in comparison to the first two. The third one at least kind of kept the theming, kind of that as well. This one felt very quick, very almost comedic shtick, plot by scene by scene by scene by scene, and then we get to different areas and then scene by scene by scene. Motivations aren't really well grounded, or if they are, they're very lightly touched upon. And while there is a solid theme here, I felt despite the flashy and beautiful animation, there's just not a lot going under the surface.
Yeah. So now that I've seen all three of the previous Kung Fu Panda films, I will say that this is the weakest out of all of them. And I think it's the weakest out of all of them because one, you don't have the Furious Five. They're not even mentioned in this movie or anything about them.
I mean, they are mentioned. They're just very much a old school Hollywood way where someone pick up the phone and you didn't hear the voice on the other end. Oh, what do you mean your flight got canceled?
Yeah.
What do you mean you're not going to get here?
It's the issue that even the first three movies had of having such big stars as the Furious Five is just going to be a kind of a nightmare scheduling thing. Yeah, they only really get moments of like being characters throughout the whole film in two. I feel like because they are there, but then they they're don't have a ton of lines. But in third, half of them get turned into Jade zombies, so they have 10 lines each.
Yeah.
That was another problem I had with the third. Was just like, you did so good in two. Why did you do that?
Two is too good.
Yes, it does. Unfortunately, too good.
Yeah. So you mentioned they mentioned them. But they don't show up at all.
Oh no.
In this movie. So if you're expecting that, then just to let you know that out the gate. And I don't know. Somebody speculated. I was watching a review, Breakfast All Day. They said maybe I don't know. Maybe it's because the cut costs. Maybe because voice actors get Angela Jolie back, get Seth Rogen back, David Cross, Lucy Liu. Maybe it was to save some money there. And they see kind of the bigger budgets of all these other animated movies that are kind of falling flat. It's like maybe let's scale it back a little bit, try to make it as a little bit cheaper. Um, and like you said, Dusk, I think it's just okay. That's about it really with it. The main villain here, and I had this thought when I even looked at the trailer. Viola Davis does great voice work here
Yeah.
as the chameleon. Really good stuff that she does with her voice with the chameleon. But it just feels like with that character, its ability to turn into other characters, it's like we're just gonna play the greatest hits. Like you already like these past villains. And one of the main villains they got to come back and do the voice was Tai Lung, who's voiced by Ian McShane. The other voices like Gary Oldman as Shin and J.K. Simmons as Kai, they didn't come back to reprise their roles as villains.
It's a big shame because what you could have really had in this movie, especially with a character like Chameleon, was show how even if someone can copy something, that the originals are still there's something different from taking something or they're acquiring it through your own skills. Even villains can kind of get the theming of this movie tries to be change and somewhat redemption. That would have really gone well into showing that even vast villains that have been defeated, have a chance to kind of show themselves in a different light. And you get a little bit about that with Ian McShane as Tai Lung, but I was waiting for Shen to speak as Gary Oldman, and just he never opens his mouth, and we don't even and the villain for the third movie, he doesn't open his mouth either, and that's what I think bothered me the most. Is it's kind of like they've taken the puppets of what this franchise is, but there's not a lot of soul. It felt very workmanlike, even with, unfortunately, the voice acting with Jack Black, who normally does a great job. I think he's done a great job as the character of Poe, and he's put a lot of energy in it and everything he's ever done. This is probably the most workman I've heard him sound in a long time. The jokes that he tells just fall super flat. He just kind of like almost Super Friends level of yes, and that joke came out. Well, let's tell me, and I'll tell another joke, and that joke leads to another joke. Aren't you laughing, everybody?
Interesting. To talk a little bit more about the voice work. So, like I said, you had the new addition of Viola Davis, who's the villain, who's the chameleon in this. You also have the returning voices, Dustin Hoffman, who's Shifu. You have Bryan Cranston, who's Lee, and James Hung, Mr. Ping. And then you also have some other kind of additions here. You got like Ki-Han Kwan there, who was Han in this. You got Ronnie Cheng, who's the fish in this. So some other kind of additional voices. There's a kind of a B plot going on here with the Poe's two dads, with Bryan Cranston and James Hung, and they're cute together. And I love that they have big love for Poe, and that kind of bonds them. And that they have cute little segments, but for them to carry a whole B plot, it was like, this feels like filler. This feels like, okay, we need to run out this time to increase the time here because we don't have really much else with the main plot. And when they would cut to them, I was like, this is stuff that you could be given to, somebody a little bit more stuff with the Furious Five if you wanted, if you could include them or something. And I just thought that stuff just didn't work. What about you?
No, I am in complete agreement. Every time it's come to the B plot, I'm like, you know what? This would be a great addition on a Blu-ray DVD. This would be a great, what they used to do back in the days. They used to have like a great special or extra animation that they happened to do in the meantime and show, well, what were these characters doing while everyone else is having an adventure? And they weren't, you know what? It's not even worth a B plot. This was a C to D plot. This is one of those where I don't know if either of you played Final Fantasy IX. If you ever played it.
No, I have not.
I should think. Is that the one with not Roxas.
No.
A volleyball kid that like kicked the ball.
10.
That's 10. Okay.
That's 10. No, 9. Okay, so 9 has whatever. It doesn't matter. 9 at certain points in it, and it's a mechanic I've always wished other RPGs introduced. In the middle of your story, because this game is kind of like a play, or at least takes on that aspects, you could press select and see what another character is doing all the way on the other side of the world. And it'll be little vignettes that you could look into at that moment. So you, the person playing, could see a little bit more of the story for other people going on right now, or being introduced to characters you aren't introduced to yet. That's what it felt like. And I felt like the entire time I was watching both them, as much as I'm happy to see James Hong and Bryan Cranston, they do both good work. You could have cut them entirely and replaced it with something far better, and to actually utilizing your themes and your characters instead of Fear 5 being gone for most of this movie. Maybe you give them some character like you did in the second one, and let them have to deal with dealing in this big city environment, something they may not be super accustomed to. Finding things, characterizations, and Poe having to deal with this Shen character, with Aquafina's character, and that, well, she's a thief, and so they don't quite trust her. And then even though Poe's like, no, like I think there's some good in there. We need to be really positive. And Tigress and a couple other characters like, I don't know about this. This doesn't sit right. This would also give time for the villainess to act, Viola Davis, to actually be imposing, and actually for her plot to maybe make sense. Because when you really get down to it, and I don't want to talk about spoilers yet, but when you get down to what the chameleon's, the main villain of the movie's ire is, it's just downright laughable, especially when you understand the context of it. I just shook my head and went, wait, that's the reason why you're doing this? Yeah. Why?
She definitely has the weakest motivation, I think, out of anybody in all the villains.
You could do so, like, your abilities right now are so much more interesting than what you're craving.
Yeah.
Like, her villain power is super vague. She's a sorceress and super powerful, and she has these great magics. And I'm like, cool, you learned something new in this world that I'd like to, learn a little bit more about. Why isn't that have to do with you? Why are you obsessed with what she's obsessed with? And then when she lays it all out, it really just feels like a throwaway of, oh, that's my reason. And you go, that doesn't make any sense given the context of this world.
Yeah. How'd you like Aquafina? Aquafina, she's done some voices before. She was in Little Mermaid. She was what other animated voice she's done recently?
She's got dirt on someone.
Yeah,
she was also Raya. She was the dragon.
Oh yes,
in Sisu or something.
Yeah, she was the dragon in
Raya the Dragon in that movie.
Yeah, Raya the Last Dragon. Yeah, she was in that. She was also in the animated movie Migration. I didn't see that one. I don't know.
The duck movie with Kumail Nanjiani. Apparently, it's very good.
It's not bad. It's actually not bad at all. I happened to check it out.
Okay, yeah. She was also in The Bad Guys. Okay.
The Bad Guys, the DreamWorks movie. Yeah.
So sorry to cut you off there.
No, it's fine. So like almost very similar. Like what's her name from? Like Sarah Silverman. When you tone her the hell down and you give her direction, she actually can make a character. Whether the character's great is really depending on the amount of writing and what they've given to them. But I think Awkwafina does a solid enough job as the character. They still just give her kind of shtick to do and wisecracks to make. But I mean, that's what you kind of hire the actor or the voice actor to do, is they have something that you want to, or at least that's what I hope. You hire someone whose voice kind of fits the character you're trying to go for and their mannerisms. And she does well enough as kind of a thief that doesn't trust anybody, who's not used to trusting people. And it's fine enough. God, there's already so much art of that character. It just came out today. But she does fine enough. She's okay.
Yeah. I like the design of the character.
It's very simple, very wuxia. Very simple Chinese story. It works. Just nothing. I think everything. The movie itself is beautiful overall. I think the animation, the animators did a great job of making this the world and the city, which we spend a lot of the time in, or at least you would hope to spend most of the time in. We kind of get there around almost the first third. After the first third of the movie, we finally get to the city where the plot happens, and I kind of wanted to see more of the city. And you never really kind of do. You only kind of see little parts of it, and then we just got to beeline it. This movie felt so quick, so beelining. It both dragged and was wanted to get through things really quickly.
Yeah. And the city, like you said, that was a new environment, so that was good. And then like how the chameleon kind of runs this town as like, she's like the mob boss of this town, and she gets collection money from everybody. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was good if we could spend a little bit more time there. And I don't know like how far apart this place is from where Poe is from because they don't know Poe at all, and they know everything about Master Shifu. And I don't know, maybe I'm not enough on Kung Fu Panda lore, but it's like the staff that they have. So it's like you don't have to have any specialized training to use it. You just do the certain moves like a video game. You do up, up, down, down, B, B. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
and you could just
That's another thing. It was very much indicated that a lot of time was spent for Poe in the first one to learn his moves. It's kind of forgiven, kind of there's a throwaway line where in order for this move to happen, characters have to not ask just realistic questions. And I mean very specific questions. And they don't, because if they did, this movie wouldn't happen. And if you really think about it, you kind of go, wait, that doesn't make any sense. I think that's my biggest problem is a lot of this movie felt like something that needed to happen, not that events unfolded and a story was told. We need to get to the chameleon boss. Why? Because Kung Fu, which was all my fears years ago when Kung Fu Panda came out. It's like, oh, it's just going to be some dumb like kids movie. And then it actually proved to be something more than that. And then 2 came out and surprised me even more. And then it has never quite lived up to the hype since, or at least the interest. And I think we were given too much of a golden goose with 2. I think we'll never get that again.
So what will be your final rating for Kung Fu Panda?
This is just a straight stream it. There's no reason to see this in theaters. This is fine. I didn't dislike this movie. There's nothing terrible in this movie. It's just very workmanlike, very serviceable. Some of the music choices were even kind of weird, but I think the animation is good enough. It's beautiful. There are some great designs here and there, and seeing some old villains come back was honestly a nice treat, even if they didn't utilize them properly as I would have liked. Because of that, it just feels like an emptier version of the previous entries. It's just like a series that's basically run out of steam, or at least running out of steam, which is a shame because I think there's so much more to this property that could be done.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I'm gonna give it a stream it as well. I don't think it's as strong as the other movies. I don't think it's as funny as the other movies. For me personally, I know you guys talk about 2 a lot. For me, I think 3 is my favorite at all. Now seeing them, I really like 3. I really like the villain of 3. I think the humor in 3 is pretty good. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I was shocked, but like I did rewatch them a lot, like relatively recently. I'm still like surprised how much all those movies make me laugh.
Yeah. Here the humor is just okay. I wouldn't say like, I didn't really laugh much or chuckle much. It was kind of like, oh, okay. That's, some stuff is kind of a decent gag and everything, but that's kind of about it. And this is
a lot of them just kind of focus on the jokes themselves. Like they really like, we're gonna get that laugh out of you, and it's like,
yeah. And this is directed by a new team. This is Mike Mitchell and Stephanie Stein, who's doing this. I don't know their previous work here. I see some of the stuff they've done. She was part of the art department. Stephanie Stein of like Ride the Last Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon, stuff like that. And then Mike Mitchell, for him, it says right here, let me pull it up, that he's done things like Shrek Forever After. He's directed that before. I've never seen Shrek Forever After.
Really?
It's fine. It's not as bad as Shrek 3, but it's not as good as Shrek 2.
Shrek 3 gets a lot of bad rap, as rightly it should, but it's okay as well. But yeah, 4 is definitely it's better than 3, so that's why you kind of cap it out on. You're like, all right, we're done.
Yeah. He also directed Trolls. I've never seen Trolls, but
Trolls, really? Huh.
Yeah. So it's Jennifer Nelson who did the 3rd one and the 2nd one, and then so it's a different team for this one. Also, like I said, No Furious 5. I like to see the team working together. I like to see them teaming up, doing combo moves, that type of thing. I like to see that in these movies, and that's absent here. It's just Poe and then Jen and Aquafina's Jen. I know people are mixed about Aquafina. and kind of her roles and what she kind of does. And I think she's decent here. I don't think
Yeah.
she comes off as annoying at all or anything. I think she's fine. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just okay. That's about it. Like you said, I don't think there's any strong reason to see it in theaters. Maybe, there's talks of like, which is gonna win out, Dune 2 or this, it's like maybe you can, you know,
Dune
I
2.
yeah, I think granted how weak this movie is, I don't know, maybe if you want to take your kids to go see something because there's not a lot of kids movies out right now, maybe
Mhm.
you could take them to go see this. Yeah, I think Dune 2 is probably gonna win out this weekend again.
I was surprised in my theater. There were actually a lot of teenagers and
Mm.
families in there as well. And I
Oh.
got the feeling that they had, because a couple of them talked like, "Oh, that's that character." So a couple of them have seen these movies. So I think
Mm,
that's what you're really going to get your fan is the people who are already fans or being introduced to these movies in theaters, who just something for parents to take their kids to.
yeah,
But as for a general movie experience, that's just great. Dune 2 is going to kick your ass.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that. So yeah, two streamings for Kung Fu Panda 4
Mhm.
there.
And it hurts my heart to say it. It hurts my heart, but them's the breaks.
Yeah. You think they're gonna try to do like another like trilogy there with Jin and then
Uh,
what's it like?
It
First of all,
sounds like
her name's Shen, by the way. It's because it's Zhen. So
Oh,
Shen.
I thought I heard him say Jin, like they pronounce it like with the J, right?
I
Oh,
don't.
okay.
That's usually not the correct pronunciation. Like J would be Zhang or Jin, but Jin is usually the shush sound. But that's fine.
Okay.
Uh, I saw a comment on this. I think it was from the production team. Yeah, they did like an interview where they said this was with, I think Mitchell said well, this was way back in 2023, a year ago. He said the Kung Fu Panda may launch a new trilogy if no one gets tired of seeing Jack Black return as Poe. While Huntley has affirmed that the filmmakers behind Kung Fu Panda 4 focused on making the franchise's greatest film, and that whether sequels would be made is something to discuss later.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know. It depends what the
yeah, I don't know
return
about
on
that.
is. I mean, Kung Fu Panda 3 had the lowest return out of these movies. It
Yeah.
made 500 something million. Can this do better than Kung Fu Panda 3 in terms of box office? It's a pretty crowded month in March
Yeah.
because you got this, and then also Godzilla's coming up in a couple of weeks. So pretty crowded. Maybe
Yeah.
it can kind of stay in the box office because, like I said, it's the only real kids movie available. But hell, kids probably want to go see Godzilla. They probably want to see Godzilla. And Kong.
Yeah,
Beat
they
the
see
shit out
some
of-
monsters.
Yeah, they don't want to see
Uh,
the fat ass panda.
I mean, from the budget said it was 82 million. So it would need at least 2 to 300 million to at least break even, marketing and all things considered. And I mean bare minimum breaking it. I could see them worldwide getting 2 to 300, 400 if they're lucky.
Yeah,
But I just don't see them breaking that 500. Not even close.
yeah. Because like you said, it depends. If you have like older kind of people who are just like, oh, but I remember the franchise
Yeah.
watching it when I was a kid coming back. How much does it appeal to newer kids now who are growing up? And it's like, what's this Kung Fu Panda thing?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, Kung Fu Panda is holding pretty strong. It's one of DreamWorks' famous franchises, and there's
Yeah.
still people getting introduced to it. I don't think the Kung Fu Panda franchise is the problem. It's just they really need an influx of new ideas to do with these characters, not just go through the motions.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So we'll see though. We'll see.